Solo a true story. The only sound was the wind and the rhythmic crunch of my boots on the sand. Each step was a commitment, a small pact with myself to keep moving forward. I didn't look back. The footprints were a fleeting memory, soon to be erased by the relentless breeze. There was nothing behind me but the life I had chosen to leave. My shoulders ached from the weight of my pack, but it was a good kind of ache, the physical manifestation of a psychological load being lifted. Up ahead, the mountains rose like jagged teeth against a bruised sky, their peaks a silent promise. They weren't a destination so much as a direction, a reason to put one foot in front of the other. People talk about the loneliness of being alone, but they don't understand the solitude. Loneliness is an empty room full of people. Solitude is a vast, empty landscape filled with peace. Out here, with nothing but the horizon to keep me company, I wasn't running from anything. I was walking towards something, even if I didn't know what it was yet. The sun cast long shadows, painting the sand in hues of orange and deep red. A small, satisfied smile touched my lips. For the first time in a very long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. As the last sliver of the sun disappeared behind the peaks, the temperature dropped and the stars began to appear. They were brighter than I had ever seen them, a dense, shimmering blanket draped across the velvet blackness. I found a sheltered hollow between two large rock formations and set down my pack. The small fire I managed to start was a beacon in the vast darkness, a tiny island of warmth in a sea of cool air. As I ate my simple meal, the only thought in my mind wasn't about the past or the future, but about the immediate present, the crackle of the fire, the taste of my food, and the profound silence of the desert night. I was just a person, a pack, and the infinite stars, and it was enough. The dawn arrived with a quiet confidence, painting the mountains in soft hues of lavender and gold. The air was crisp and clean, smelling of dry earth and the promise of a new day. I packed up my meager camp, extinguishing the last embers of the fire. My body, stiff from the cold night, protested a little, but my mind was clearer than it had been in years. The thought of what lay beyond the next ridge, the next valley, was no longer a source of anxiety, but of pure, unadulterated curiosity. As the sun crested the highest peak, its rays warmed my face, and I turned my back on the valley I had just left, ready to discover what the desert had in store for me. The journey was long, and the sun climbed high, beating down on the vast, empty plain. My water was running low, and the rhythm of my footsteps had become a weary plod. Just as I was considering resting, I saw a flicker of movement far in the distance, a point of black against the shimmering heat haze. As I drew closer, the figure resolved into a person, sitting cross-legged on a worn blanket, a small, weathered-looking box in their lap. They didn't seem to notice me until I was just a few feet away, and even then, their gaze was fixed on the horizon, not on me.
"You're a long way from home,"
they said, their voice as dry and gentle as the breeze. I didn't answer right away, just sank to the sand, the sudden stillness a relief. "I could say the same about you," I finally replied. The figure turned to me then, a knowing smile on their face.
But this is my home."
The person, whose face was a road map of sun-creased wrinkles, motioned to the box. I watched as they carefully opened it, revealing not a treasure, but a collection of smooth-colored stones. "Each one holds a story," they said, picking up a milky white stone.
"Each one's hold a story," they said, picking up a milky white stone. This one is about the first time a storm caught me out here, and I had to spend 3 days in a small cave.
I reached for my canteen, but they held up a hand. Save your water. I have enough for us both. They produced a second larger canteen and offered it to me. The water was cool and tasted of clean spring, an unimaginable luxury. As we drank, they told me more tales, of the lone camel they found wandering without a master, of the time they saw a meteor shower so bright it lit up the entire desert, and of the many travelers they'd met, each as lost or as found as I was. Their stories were woven into the silence of the desert, a history passed down through rocks and wind. When they had finished their last story, the sun was beginning to set once again, painting the sky in a spectacle of colour. The traveller offered me a final nod, their gaze returning to the horizon. I stood up, feeling a profound sense of peace settle over me. The road ahead was still unknown, but I knew now that it wasn't about the destination. The true journey had been in the steps I had already taken, in the stories I had shared, and in the quiet acceptance that I was a small, temporary part of this magnificent, endless world. With a final, silent farewell, I turned and resumed my walk, the sand now soft and cool under my boots. The distant mountains were no longer a goal, but a beautiful backdrop to a story that was still being written. I knew I would not find a grand answer at the end of this journey, but in the rhythm of my steps and the vast silence of the desert, I had already found something more important: myself. My heart was full, and my spirit, a long-lost wanderer,